You'll see the counter.
Okay.
All right, we are live.
Yeah, woo! Cue the music.
Awesome, right? We were saying that remember residency days when we
Yes.
would hang out in the office with some music
No, yeah. For
and do
those,
some self-care between patients.
yeah. You come in and dance and listen to Boma's music.
My music is missing out here this morning today, but we're on different coasts, right? It's what 1:57 here on my coast end, and it's what time on your end?
It's 11. It's just
11.
11 here in California,
California, in between patients on our
right?
office screens.
Oh, and Bola,
Awesome.
even though I haven't seen you forever, it always feels like we just hung out. But like, I think it's because we did our training together back in New York, and like, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's always good
Like
to hang.
the good old basement days. All right. For anyone listening, welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Bilali Akinrambi. I'm a psychiatrist, adult psychiatrist at Bright Minds MD, and I'm out here in New Jersey. I'm serving both New Jersey and New York because it's metro and we have patients that go back and forth. I'm hanging out today with my very good friend, also a psychiatrist from California. We trained in residency together. I'll let you introduce yourself, Zainab.
Yes. So I we trained together. My name is Dr. Al Daver. I see all ages because I did double boarded in child and adult. So I see all ages, kids through, so this time of year, definitely you feel the shift because everyone's going back to school. And so for, adult patients of mine who either work in education or are parents of like school age children, and then of course the kids that I see that are mostly, if they're seeing me, they're mostly seeing me for like learning differences or ADHD or of course anxiety disorders and things like that. And this can be a time where a lot of people are breathing a sign of relief because their kids are back in school and out of their house. For a lot of parents, it's a stressful time if you have like a child that has a harder time learning, or a child that you are, trying to, or even just like being a working parent, like Bola and I are, and trying to juggle it all. So,
right. The duality of all of life, right? It's always bittersweet. There's something great about it, and then there's something else that's kind of a downside to every season, pretty much. All right. So we'll get together and talk about this, to talk about some of the questions that have been coming up in the child psychiatry world that we're also both experiencing as parents as we transition into try and answer some of it. So we got some questions. Ooh, there's some feedback, so I don't know.
Okay.
Is it all right? Hopefully it goes away. But yeah, so there's some questions that have come up already in your world. So I'm gonna read them, and we'll talk about it and have you as the expert, the child psychiatrist, kind of give your thoughts and experiences about this.
Yeah,
so first of all, first question. Oh, I'm still getting some feedback.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, I don't know. All right, it seems like it's gone again.
Okay.
Ooh, hopefully it goes away. Okay, but the first question is about activities and balance. I'm going to read it out.
Sure.
Hi, I'm tired. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. My 6-year-old loves activities, and so far this year, we have her signed up for soccer, dance, and Girl Scouts. Now, her best friend, who she does all these activities with, is asking about an art class, which would require me to take her out of after-school care, which I use because I work full-time. I'm doing my best to keep up, and now my mom guilt is settling in if I say no. I mean, I could do it, but that would mean I would have to stay up later to find to finish up work after kids are down. And also, this best friend of hers has a stay-at-home parent, and I've been having trouble explaining to my child that it's different when you have a working parent versus stay-at-home parent. So, am I letting her down? What do I say? What do I do? how do I explain this to a kid at this age that she can't do all the 10,000 things her friends are doing because I'm a working mom? Yes, I can relate.
Oh my God, that was like stressing me out just listening to all those activities. First of all, what was it? The soccer, sure, because we're in soccer season, and they do dance.
They do soccer, they do dance, they do Girl Scouts, and now their friend is doing an art class. They want to add that too.
Okay. And it's the older, that's 6.
They're 6, yes. The 6-year-old who wants to do all of this.
No, first I think like we step back. I think it's always good to just like take a breath and be like, okay, let me just take some space here and figure out like what is it about the situation that's like stressing me out or making me triggering my mom guilt, which like we gotta like shut that down. It's so hard with the mom guilt, right? Because you never feel like you're doing enough, especially as a working parent, but also just like a parent that's predominantly stay home. But I would say the first thing to do is to like step back, think about like what is going on like internally for me, but also when you're talking with your child, I think it's really important to like, you know, acknowledge and validate like this is so awesome that you're into so many things. Like I love that you get excited. You're excited about things that are artistic, things that are like sporty, things that involve like, you know, cooperating with other kids. These are like all good things. So it's like, it's great that you like, first of all, done something right, that you have a child that's like so interested and engaged in so many things. Right. Now, I think like it's important to know like the framework is like every family looks different. You know, some families have one parent, some have 2, some families have 1 child, some have more, some families, you know, both parents are working, some, you know, one is, one isn't, you know, so everyone, so I think that's a good place to start, you know, and you can even like draw from examples like so-and-so are cousins or so-and-so are neighbor, just to like help your child. That's 6, we're talking about a first grader, so like they have already experienced like seeing this, where they're interacting with their kids and their families, and so they already know that like families are different, but it's important to like kind of let them in, peel the curtain back to like what it's like as like the grown-up, you know, like the grown-up of a kid that has 3 siblings versus like an only child, right? And just kind of like helping them understand like this is what like different families are different, and for me as, you know, a working parent or like, you know, a stay-at-home parent, like these are all the things I have to do for you, and this is like how much time, you know, I have for this and that. Now I think like it's important to, when you're stepping back and taking stock, to think about like what are you okay with, like what is reasonable. And one activity could mean, like if it's swim, that could be daily, right? So, and then there's another activity that's happening once a month. So you want to like look at your schedule and think about how many days out of the week do I want to be schlepping my kid back and forth to things? And then how many do I just need to recharge or whatever? So you have to like, that's a conversation between you, yourself, you, your partner, you, a grandparent, if they're involved in like pickups and drop-offs, right? So you have to kind of like on the executive level decide like what's your like minimum maximum like per season.
How much can I take on? How much can I reasonably realistically take on?
Exactly. You have to like take, because this is a very slippery slope. Like today it's going to be these activities, and then, you know, and it's time goes quickly, and you're going to be like faced with, especially if you have a kid that likes to do lots of things, if they're kind of the ones like deciding what they're doing, like then it can feel like, oh my God, it's their show, and you're just like
coming along for it.
Yeah. So I think like once you've made that decision, once you have figured out, okay, these are what these obligations, this is what this looks like, then I would say for a kid your age, you can like figure out like if we're in between, let's say, you know, scouts and then the activity, like you can say, all right, we've already made a commitment to these things, and now it's about taking this other thing on. You might have to just do something where you say, you know what, it's for this next, from now until holidays, it's going to be either this or this, or
choices.
if you want to get creative, because you mentioned that your daughter has a best friend who has one of the parents is stay at home. See if you're comfortable. I know this is your eldest, so you might not be, but like carpooling, if that's in the cards, if you feel comfortable with that.
Sharing resources.
Yeah. But you kind of have to like kids, kids are always going to kind of they're going to test what they don't know the boundaries that we have to hold the boundaries, in authoritative parenting, which is shown to be the one that has the best outcomes. We want to focus on few different things, connected relationship, we want to be attuned to our kids, but then we also have to have these very clear, safe boundaries, right? And so then if your kid knows that okay, at the end of the day, you're making the rules, and you're gonna say what's okay, what we can do, what we can't do. So that's an important part of it. And so you have to have that conversation, and a kid this age can understand okay, I can't, because I work, do all of these activities like so and so's mom, because her number one and number two job is being a mom, but I have these other things I have to do. So you can talk like that. And then I think to your point about I can swing it, but then that means I'm going to be staying up late. So that's a flag that's kind of going off in my mind. I don't know, Bola, about you, when you're working.
Same, because then it means you're extending your day, losing sleep, missing out rest, which could end up making you crankier and maybe not the best mom the next day to your child if you're having to stretch so thin to accommodate all of these extra things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we want to think about, when it comes to parenting, especially parenting young children, is more important than what we're saying to them. They are watching us like hawks and taking in everything we're doing. So whether we like it or not, we are modeling for them.
So we don't want to model that mom who stretches until they break. We want to model good boundaries, good plans of how we care for ourselves, how we take on enough, but not too much.
Yeah, I would say, sleep, once, this mom is referencing sleep, and this means I'm going to be up late or whatever, that's where, okay, if there's one thing I would say, let's all focus on getting more of or better, it's sleep, then, and when I'm seeing kids for anxiety disorders, learning disorders, things like that, sleep is so important. So then if you yourself are kind of doing that, they will take it in. You might, even if it's even if you're not commenting, oh, I didn't get enough sleep last night or whatever, they're going to feel your fuse is going to be shorter. If you're not caring for yourself, you're not going to be on your A game. And so then it's well, is it then diminishing returns? Are you then, you're doing this thing with the art activity, but then are you then, what
are you giving up for art? Essentially, that's a question that's coming in my head. If you compel yourself to include this other fifth activity, what are you really giving up? Are you giving up time? Are you giving up sleep? Are you giving up emotions? Are you giving up connections with your kid the next day now because you're so stretched thin that you're not even able to be present with them in the way that you would like to, or that they should be, or that you'd normally have been able to do without adding this other activity? Those are very great things to consider. And I like that framework of looking at things that way and making a decision. So you've brought up some really important things in looking at this whole activity thing, because it's a recurring problem. It's a question I have to answer as well. I have a 9-year-old who loves to do 10,000 things. And we're at that point where we're saying, hey, there are only 24 hours in a day, and Dad and I have to go to work. And then, you still have a sibling who also has to do activities. So we have to look at how much time we realistically can budget the thing. So I love that you touched on the education piece of it, because sometimes we don't talk enough to children. We don't educate them. I think we don't I really love talking to children and honoring the fact that they're smart. They can understand if we actually make the effort to educate them on what is. So I love that education piece that you talked about. I also like that you're teaching them early about different families. Clearly, many kids have already seen different types of families, and just kind of highlighting that to them. You also talked about sharing resources, right? If there's a mom who's maybe works from home primarily and has a little more flexibility, maybe we can ask that mom to then, if the kids are going to be spending time together, to see if they want to take on the task of stepping them to some of that joint activity together. I like that. And more importantly, I love, on this topic, modeling, beyond the talking, modeling what healthy balance looks like for our children, showing them that there will always be 10,001 things to do, but we have to choose. We have to say we have 24 hours. This is how much we need for sleep. This is how much we need for work. This is how much we need for fun activities, and budgeting that time and showing them kind of like reverse engineering, budgeting our existing time in real life for them to see this is how we manage and make choices. And so maybe this season we do soccer, next season we do some other things. So I love that conversation. I love, talking to children in that way. And those are some of the things I picked up from what you said today, and hoping that whoever's listening is kind of getting that as well.
The other thing that like you're also doing by engaging them, because you might think like a 5 or a 6-year-old, I'm just going to say yes or no, like to keep it simple. Like, no, I'm sorry, honey, I know you want to do this. Like we all kind of understand, because we're exposed to this like gentle parenting and all these things where you're acknowledging and validating. I feel like we all, as like parents that want to be involved, like understand that piece, and might think, well, I don't want to like explain too much and like make them, then I'm going to feel bad that I'm not doing what so-and-so's mom is doing. But I think explaining a little bit, depending on the age, like in an age appropriate way, like a 6-year-old can understand, well, and it like develops empathy for you. It kind of like it makes when mommy works till 5, then that means and then we won't have time to like make dinner, or get to bed on time, or, so that they're like understanding like this idea that like there's only so many hours in the day. If we're doing this, then we can't do that. And that it's okay to say, in some families, like they kind of drive off this frenetic energy and like they like having something every single day of the week. And that's kind of like the cadence at which they move. But in some families, and this depends on, the age of the parents or whatever else is going on, or whatever other, like maybe that family has like grandparents that are helping, whatever, that like, oh, in our family, the value is on like some like rest days, where we're not doing that, where we're making a home cooked meal, or we are just vegging out for us. Like we need to veg out and watch.
I'm big on vegging on Sundays. It's hard to get me out of my house on Sundays.
It's hard to get you out of your house or apartment. I remember I'd be like, hold on, let's go.
It's like I gotta get back in the zone for Monday. I just gotta, chill all the way out. And my kids know this now. Like, no, I can leave on Sundays.
So because we're all different, like I remember being, well, let's go, let's do this, and you were like, no, for me, I need to reset, So some of us are introverted, extroverted, right? So for some of us, it's very depleting to feel like they need to go and do these things and interact all the time. And for some other people, like they're like, oh my God, I'm so bored. I'm just sitting in my house, not doing anything. So everyone's different. So every family's going to be different. And that's something to teach, your child. And a 6-year-old can understand that, and so then you make it known. Like I had a family I worked with in the summer. They really wanted to do swim. And that was like an everyday commitment. And so they explained like, okay, we can either do swim, and that's okay. But that means you cannot also do A, B, and C. Like, so do you want to do these other things, or do you want to do that? Like, and then they get to choose, and then you're not like burning out trying to do 4 different things. So.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's a good summary. I like that. Let's see if we can catch one more question in the next 10 minutes.
Awesome.
All right. That was a lot. I didn't anticipate there would be so much to touch on in that very question, but it's clearly a big thing even for us and for many families, like the whole activities things. But let's talk about screens. Screens are very, very hot, right? As families are going, from summer into the new school year, you have to again negotiate how much screen time, you allow. So I'll read the question. Our family had a great summer, went abroad, spent it abroad, so everything about our routine was completely different, including screen time use. And now that we're back to school routine, it's been challenging to go back to the way things were. It doesn't help that work has been crazy for husband and I'm doing two people jobs. Spouse started a new job, and so often I'm still on my computer and phone finishing things up at meal times. I often cave and revert back to giving the children their devices. I don't want this to become a new norm. Any tips on how to reel things back where I won't be public enemy number one for taking devices away? That's a hard one. Go for it.
Maybe you can elect to be public enemy number two and then bring your spouse. No, I'm kidding. This is hard. This is hard to reshift. And it reminds me a lot about the situation many of us found ourselves in COVID, because we were all kind of told and promised 2 weeks. And so we're like all go into survival mode, throw everything, we're stuck inside. Guess what happens? Lots of devices, lots of screens. And then 2 weeks becomes, 4 years. Right. So what do we do? It's fine, and everything's fine for a couple weeks for a summer, right? Like to shift it back. This is the thing. Oh, did we say how old the kids were?
I think we're going to say they're 7 and 9 years old.
All right. Okay. So, because that's a world of a difference, like younger versus like we're talking teenagers.
Sure. So
for younger, you're kind of in a better position you have to remember you are the parent, like you just, you are, but like you have to remind yourself that like you are the CFO and the CEO and the CEO, like you are the executive board, of this family. And like your kids, like they are going to be okay. Like being public enemy number one or number two for a limited time is going to be fine. They need that. Like they, again, to go back to like authoritative parenting, like if you have a connected relationship with your kid, if you're attuned to them, if it's warm, if it's loving, if they are securely attached to you, you can make a rule that is going to, they're going to be upset at, or take away a privilege, or change something from the way we're doing things right now to the new way we're doing things. And they will be maybe annoyed with you temporarily for a brief period of time, but they'll get over it. And then they probably will actually feel comforted to know, okay, mom and dad, or mom or dad, whatever, is in charge. And like what they say goes. But like being consistent is so key. So again, step number one is to step back. So step number one is always just to step back. Kids are sleeping, you have a free moment, and figure out like, what do you want your weekday? What ideally do you want? And realistically, do you want your weekdays to look like versus weekends versus like holidays and whatever? Because it's going to be different, and it's okay that it looks different. But you have to decide like kind of what really doesn't sit well with you with the screen times. If it's like you're reverting back to like screens are there all the time at dinner, from when we get home from school all the way to bedtime. What is it that you really want to like tackle? If it's, for example, we're like, okay, it bothers you that there's like screens at mealtime. You kind of have to like decide that. So decide when you want what, if you want a screen shut off time at a certain time. So decide those parameters for yourself. And then you have a family meeting, brief family meeting. Say, look, we got to reel things back. Summer, it was this way. Vacations are going to look a lot different than like regular real time. I know we've been busy with our jobs and this kind of thing, but it feels like we've kind of lost, like we
here.
Exactly. And we got to like bring it back to some, because my job is being your parent. And part of being a parent is making sure we're being healthy and balanced. And part of that means like you're getting like, screens, but not too much. Just like the way that I make sure you get enough vegetables, just like the way I make sure you're getting enough sleep. I have to make sure that you're not, getting too many screens and like,
running
your brain. Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah. And then you've got to like decide, and again, it goes to modeling and stuff. So if we're deciding, okay, no screens at meals, which is like, I think a natural place to start, even if like meal with those young ages, I mean, 5-10 minutes, but we all have to do it. So we're all putting them in a bucket, we're all putting them on the island, and then we are all just talking with each other. Now if we're in a situation where we're stressed, and this makes me think again, like we're outsourcing, the pickups and drop-offs or whatever activities to, is there an aftercare? Is there someone that can help? Because I know that period right after work and school to like dinner can be really, really stressful for working parents. And so is there something where it like allows you time to finish up so that when you're with the kids, you're just with the kids? Or, you can tap in and out, like if you have two parents in the household where they're like, to allow you to, so that they're not seeing, well, how come you told us we can't be on our phone or computer or Chromebook, but you are on yours?
Right. That's
so
another question.
trying to figure out. And then again, like we can make, if they're like, well, it's not fair, so and so, that then you go back to like, well, this is the weekend routine and this is the weekday routine. And these are the rules, and you have to trust as your parent that I know what's best for you. Like and you do have to like stay consistent to it. And the relationship with screen, again, it's so hard because I mean, they design these things. The smartest people in the world are designing these things so that our eyeballs stay on them, right?
Designed to be addictive.
Yeah, with kids, imagine how hard it is for us to resist these things.
Right.
Let alone a child, 7 and 9, their frontal lobes are still developing and they don't have barely any brakes on their vehicle. And so, it's going to be more of a challenge. So modeling, and if that's the rule, then you got to abide with the rules too, and then just one last thing. Yeah. And one last thing I will say that and this age, it's a good thing to just do across the board as they go into, their older years, is no screens in their rooms, please, and that's a lot easier to do if you're doing it from now than like once they hit the tween and teen years.
It's much harder to roll back.
So just no screens in there. They're parking them. They're being recharged, in a different room. And that's good for you to do too, as parents.
It encourages rest and sleep. So the theme I'm hearing again is communication, explaining things, being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And also I think reverse engineering, again, what's feasible, what do you want? And then communication. I think that comes first, figuring out what you want to do, then communicating with them, and then being consistent together as a family.
Yeah. And expect the pushback and expect yourself to be temporarily public enemy number 1 or 2, and that's okay. You'll live, they'll live, it's going to be okay.
Everybody will live. Get comfortable.
Well, so and so gets to play on their Switch on the weekdays, and it's like, well, good for so and so. Like,
this is true, because you'll get that, right? Some different families again will allow different things, and you'll get confronted with, well, this person gets to do this, and so you got to get comfortable saying, well, that's good. That's how their family operates. Ours operate different.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just say, well, guess what? You can look forward to someday you're going to be a parent and you get to decide the rules on your household. So, and until that time.
My son already said he can't wait until he's an adult so he can watch TV all day long. And I bursted out laughing like, if only you knew. You will not be watching TV all day long.
But also keep that in mind. Like if you have a loving relationship and you're a good parent, and then like it's gonna be okay. It's not about, because if they're running the show,
it's chaos.
They need to have the rules. Like it's okay. They feel better. They feel more secure when they have rules and they see that you're sticking to them and whatever. And those rules are going to be different in your house.
Comforting and comfortable to know how far you can go as they explore the world.
Yeah.
I think that we gotta, you've referenced today a lot authoritative parenting.
Yeah.
And it's something I've also kind of read and looked into recently myself. I think we got to come back and talk about the different parenting styles. People confuse authoritarian with authoritative. what each entails.
Mhm.
You know, the different parenting styles, and people love to badmouth gentle parenting whenever they see some kid, you know, throwing a tantrum or doing something terrible, like, oh, that gentle parenting. So what it is, what it isn't, I think that would be interesting for us to circle back and talk about. I
Sure.
think that today, this might be a good place to hang it up, but if anyone listens now or is listening now or listens later, you know, we hope you've had a thing or two to take away from our discussion today as, you know, two moms ourselves, or also two psychiatrists, with Dr. Altaher being a child psychiatrist herself. So she's fielding the question on the children's side, and I'm fielding it on the adult parent side. So it's interesting to talk about these things. But today we talked about, you know, finding balance with 1,000 activities with the children, as well as what to do, you know, now with screens as we transition back into regular schools. Again, thanks again for joining us, taking the time to listen. It's been a pleasure. It's always a pleasure catching up with with Dr. Aldaha, who I call Zainab, and we've trained, we've known each other for many, many years, and trained together in residency. And this just feels like coming back to our basement offices and catching up on cases for the day.
Yeah, this was so fun, and hopefully this could be something that we do more regularly, where, you know, just email us, ping us, you know, with your questions. Again, this is not, you know, every kid, this is not like official medical, but this is just like a conversation meant to educate and make us all just think, take a moment, think. So please, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. And if you, again, leave comments, questions, it's not going to be medical advice, but we're going to chat about it, and you can get our perspectives as, again, moms and psychiatrists. Thank you again for listening. It's been a pleasure. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.